Okay, well, Mrs. Erickson here, and we are moving on to a brand new chapter and a brand new unit. This is going to be the first chapter of our ecology unit, and quite possibly the last unit that we'll cover this year through distance learning. Chapter 3, it's titled The Biosphere. So I'm going to define what the biosphere is in this section. So we're just going to cover section 1, Introduction to Global Systems. And you're probably wondering what a global system is, but it's the 4 spheres that make up Earth: the biosphere, the hydrosphere, the atmosphere, and the geosphere, and just how everything kind of interacts with it. We'll talk about some features of each and how we study ecology. Okay, so this first section is Introduction to Global Systems. The objectives I want to cover today: why ecology is important, and basically what is ecology, methods that we use to study ecology, and there's going to be 3 of them. Talk about biotic and abiotic factors that are found in an ecosystem and how, again, they influence or interact with organisms and non-living things. And then finally, talk a little bit about the global systems and the changes that they can undergo. And I found this awesome quote by Barry Commoner, who is an ecologist. The first law of ecology is that everything is related to everything else. And it's so true, because if you change one little thing in the environment, it could kind of set up a domino effect of factors that could affect other organisms or other abiotic factors. So ecology this is a really long definition, study of interactions among organisms, populations, communities, and their interactions with the environment. The word ecology actually means house. Okay, so right now we are in, stay home Minnesota, self-quarantine, all that. At least I hope you're following those guidelines. And so you are probably going through a lot of interactions with the people that are in your house. Maybe it's positive, maybe it's negative, but it's just studying ecology underneath a house. Well, in this case, the environment, whatever you're looking at, between different organisms or populations of organisms, the communities, how does it, interact with other species, as well as with some non-living things. Now, the biosphere, and the word bio means life, all the parts of Earth in which life exists. So here's Earth down here. If you find an area on Earth that has life, that's considered part of the biosphere. Okay. Now, why do we study ecology? Well, first off, it's really helpful to figure out ways to reduce our impact on the environment, to help reduce harm, to possibly make the environment better. And then the second is just to study levels of the ecological organizations that exist. And so I'm going to go through 6 levels. I think your book just lists 5, but I'm just going to add the biosphere as the last level, the greatest level of ecological organization. So starting from the smallest and working our way down to the largest, we have our organism, a single individual. If you have a group of the same species, now you have a population. If you have a group of different species that live together in one area, we call that a community. So like me, population, if we had class, I could look at the population of my classroom. We are a group of the same species, okay? Then I take a step back, and now I'm looking at a community where, there's different species that live in Wheaton. Dogs, cats, birds, maybe a raccoon, a possum, I don't know, the deer that kind of wanders in and out, who knows. Anyways, ecosystem includes all organisms as well as the non-living things. So now we're throwing in water, soil, rocks, and any other non-living thing in that area. And then we're going to reach the biome. So we're going to take another step back, a major regional or global community. And if I wanted to add a 6th level here, then it would be the biosphere. So looking at this level of organization, okay, looks to me like a major regional or global community. So what level of organization is this? I hope you're thinking bio. Okay, this one. So we're not so global. We're kind of still in the same area, but it's still kind of a big area. So this would be considered an ecosystem because it has non-living as well as living things. Okay, what if we just take a look at all the different species in this artist rendition of the Arctic? Then it would be a community. And this one, group of the same species, that would be a population. And just one individual organism. So kind of see how they're all connected together, individual or organism, species, which is, population to community, to an ecosystem, to a biome. Now, how do we study ecology? 3 ways, okay? A through C here. So A, the first way is observation, which means you just watch something over time. It could be a direct survey. Maybe you actually see the organism or the interaction with your eye, but it could also be an indirect survey, which means signs of presence. You're documenting tracks, or maybe feces, or a recent kill of an organism. Second way is through field experimentation. There are some pros and cons with this. Pros kind of gives you an accurate picture of the interaction, but the con, there's so many variables and you don't really have a lot of control over it. When I was in college, when I took ecology, we actually had to do like a project, like a field experimentation on our own. And I still remember my friend who decided to look at like mole population on campus. So she had to set traps and capture moles, and then she had to find a way to track them to their homes or their dens. So she would shake them up in this kind of plastic baggie filled with like a fluorescent powder. And then she would release them, and then at night she would take like a flashlight and she would follow the trail through the grass to go back, all the way back to their dens. So, she could map, if you will, the homes of all the moles on the campus. Okay, modeling gives us a way to predict something that might occur, but it's the use of computers. It could be a mathematical model. It could be an equation. But you kind of create this virtual nature. So like maybe setting up GPS tracking movements of population, or maybe tracking the amount of snow or any type of tectonic activity of the occurrence of the next earthquake or plate movement and so on and so forth. So. All right, now in an environment, we have 2 factors going on, a biotic and an abiotic environment. Biotic means it's a living part. So it could be a plant, animal, fungi, or a bacteria. Those are considered biotic factors. Abiotic means that it's non-living. So sunlight, heat, precipitation in any form, humidity, rain, ocean currents, soil type. Those are all considered non-living factors that can make up the environment. But when you combine biotic and abiotic factors, now you get an environment. Biotic and abiotic factors do interact in the biosphere, okay? And now I'm going to kind of transition into the global systems here. So Earth is made up of 4 big systems, or 4 spheres, if you will. The biosphere, which is considered biota, a collection of living things that live in the biosphere. The hydrosphere is all of Earth's water, ice, and water vapor. The atmosphere is the air that covers Earth's solid and liquid surface. And then you have your geosphere, which features Earth's surface and below. Now, if you change one thing in one sphere, it can affect the other 3, or maybe just one of the other spheres. So if I remove plants from a riverbank, okay, so I'm affecting the biota, rain may flow more easily from land to the water, okay? But then it could also wash away soil. So I'm affecting the hydrosphere as well as the geosphere, just from this one act of removing plants from a riverbank. So your book has this diagram called the global systems. And here are the 4 spheres: the atmosphere, the biosphere, the geosphere, and the hydrosphere. And you can see that they are all interconnected with each other. But then we have these weird little rings. So I kind of want to start from the outside and work our way in. So on the outside, we have this red ring. It says causes of global change. Most of it has to do with how humans affect all of these spheres, so our actions. But then you'll notice that it's not quite red all the way around. It's orange. And so I'll talk about orange in a different lecture, but this is causes of global change that are not human related, because Earth, believe it or not, does have some cyclical patterns that can change these other spheres on its own. And so I'll talk about some of those examples. I'll just give you one example right now. Our sun is actually getting brighter. It's proven that our sun is 30% brighter today than it was at the start of our solar system. Okay, so if our sun is brighter, you get more solar radiation. Okay. This inner ring right here that's in yellow, how the Earth systems work, those are your cycles. So like the water cycle. You get evaporation, condensation, precipitation, runoff, repeat. Organisms die, decompose, recycle nutrients, get taken up by plants, so on and so forth. We have the geosphere with the carbon cycle, maybe the nitrogen cycle, I don't know. Oh gosh, I had that in the wrong spot. But you can see that they do it's basically their cycles. The water cycle, the CO2 cycle, there's just a bunch of other biogeochemical cycles, and that's what that ring involves. Okay, and then the inside here is measurable changes in the Earth system. Basically what we can measure, measured rainfall is a big one, wind direction, I don't know, but your book does list measurable changes, things that we can measure in each of these spheres. Maybe the measure of biomass or CO2 output from the plants or something like that. So that's 13.1, Introduction to Global Systems. We talked about why ecology is important, study interactions, can we make the environment better, methods, observation, modeling, and field experimentation, biotic and abiotic factors and how they influence the ecosystem, breaking it down, but together you get that environment, and then the 4 kind of global systems and how they do affect each other.